My name is Jude Brownbill, and I'm an animator at Pixar Animation Studios in Emeryville, California. So, the role of an animator, we take the story that the story department and the director has envisioned in 2D drawn storyboard form, and we take the characters that the art department and the character department have designed and built and created. And we take the voice recording that the actor has recorded in the recording booth, and we put all those together along with the layout, which is the camera angles inside the computer. And our job, basically, as an animator, is to bring those characters to life using the voice, actor, reel, but also the direction that we're given by the director, by the story artists, in a way that brings to life the character so that they feel like they're living and breathing and living in that moment. For me, I always loved watching cartoons as a child, Saturday morning television. Um, and I always thought I would go into a creative role. That was my dream. When people said, "What did you want to be when you grew up?" I knew it would be something creative. I loved art at school. I loved design technology. I loved anything that involved using a computer. So naturally, I went towards graphic design because that was the one career I could see where I could use my love of working on a computer alongside the creativity needed. So that was the path I was following for a long time. But accidentally, I found a prospectus of all the courses that you could do in the UK. And on the top of the list, there was this course called Computer Visualization and Animation. And something about that name just got me interested. I'd seen Toy Story, and I'd been a fan of that film and Disney movies in general, the 2D movies. And when I realized that you could use computers, you could use creativity, and you could make a film like Toy Story, that was the moment where I was like, I have to do that course. That's what I want to be. So I did everything I could to get into university on that course, and I eventually did, and spent 3 years doing that, and then got a job in London as an animator, um, and it kind of just snowballed from there, really. Getting a job at Pixar was tricky because it's a hard company to get into, and it's in America again. There are, you know, loopholes and not loopholes. You have to jump through a lot of hoops to kind of get a job in America because they don't want to give a job to someone who isn't American, for one. Fair enough. So it's hard to have a company in America notice you and then want to give you a job. So it was a luck, really. Luck, right place, right time. And I made a little short film, which they saw and they liked. So they offered me a job, which was a dream come true, really, because Pixar was the company I was hoping to work for one day. It just happened sooner than I thought. I was doing an animation course online, and part of that curriculum is to make a short film. So I came up with my own little story about two characters in a park. And it wasn't the most finished short film. It was still rough around the edges, but I think what Pixar saw in it, I sent it to them because to get a job as an animator or as any visual effects artist, you have to have a show reel, which you'll send to the company, and that's your portfolio basically. This is what I can do. So I sent them just my short film, and I think within that short film they liked the sort of more human characteristics, the traits that I'd managed to put into the character animation that made it feel like a real person, like someone you know. I tried really hard. I always try hard to put a bit of myself into the character, perhaps put a bit of people I know in there, so that hopefully when other people see the short film or the animation, they'll be like, "Oh, I know that person," or "That I know someone who does just that." And I think Pixar saw those characteristics in my work, and they they also saw that I maybe had a sense of humor, a different perspective, a different kind of way of thinking, and all those together, coupled with the fact that they were looking for animators, it was kind of the right place, right time situation. Wow, that's a tough one. There's been a lot of fun projects. My first project when I arrived at Pixar was working on Cars 2. And there's a British female car spy in that film. So I, for some reason, got given those shots to do with her in, and I think they liked the way that I animated her, because when I said I like to put a bit of myself into the character, it's much easier for me to put, an awkward British female into an awkward British character. So I did it right in that respect, and it was someone I could relate to, because this character, Holly Shiftwell, in Cars 2 was very much out of her depth. And that's how I felt when I first got to Pixar, a little bit. Like, should I really be here? Someone's going to realize soon that I don't really know what I'm doing. So I could really relate to that character, and it felt easy for me to just be myself and animate that. So that was a really great project to work on. And aside from that, they've all been great in their own different ways. The one most recently that I think I enjoyed a lot was Inside Out. I'm working with the character of Joy. It was a lot of fun to try and channel your happiness into a character that's completely over the top and happy, and kind of the opposite of me, really. I'm more of a sadness, I think, but it was fun to especially play scenes with the two of them together and see how far you could push the contrast to extreme, enthusiasm versus extreme kind of misery. So that was a really fun project to work on. There wasn't anyone particularly in the animation field female who I was knew about, really. I think throughout my life, and I've been thinking about this a lot recently, that there's been a lot of strong female personalities that I would watch growing up on TV that I loved. Their kind of sort of slapstick comedy and humor, like French and Saunders and Victoria Wood, and comedians like that. I think a lot of my humor kind of sort of stemmed from. Yeah. So I moved to Cheddar when I was 10 years old, and I attended local schools here, and I really always enjoyed doing art and design and technology classes, and I would try and do as much of that as possible. And I had very supportive teachers, and my family were very supportive of my decision to be a more creative venture rather than heading off and doing maths or history or something like that. So I discovered that I wanted to do animation when I was in sixth form, and found a course that I wanted to do. And it was an animation degree, which combined computers and animation, creativity with mathematics and programming and all that kind of stuff. And it just seemed like a perfect fit for what I wanted to do. So I applied, and I didn't get in the first time, and I went and did an art foundation. I went and lived in London and did an art foundation at the London Institute, which was a great year. I got to live away from home, but I was living with my brother, so it was kind of this in-between stage of not being with mom and dad, but kind of having someone there to look after me. And I did an art foundation and really enjoyed my year in London, and then got accepted into this animation degree at Bournemouth University. And so I spent 3 years there doing the degree, and I decided I wasn't quite ready to be let loose on the business world, the animation world. So I stayed, and I did a master's degree as well. So I got another year of just polishing up on my animation skills. And I got offered a job in London. First of all, just a freelance job working on a commercial for the BBC. And then through friends, I found a job working for a production company called Blue Zoo, and we did a children's television show, which was a lot of fun, but it was a lot of fast animation. We had to animate really quickly to get it all done in the time allotted, but it was a lot of fun, and it was a great team of people. And I ended up staying in that company for, I think it was 3 years I was there, working on various commercials and TV shows and things like that. I had a great time there, and throughout my career there, I managed to progress a little bit further. So I became a directing animator, and I supervised the animation on one of the TV series we worked on, and I directed a couple of episodes of one of the TV shows we did. So I got to try my hand at a bit of everything. And the benefit of being in sort of a small company, as it was that I got to climb the ladder a bit quicker and experience a lot of different roles. But there was always something in sort of pressing in the back of my mind. I loved Pixar films. There's something about them that they just, their type of film and the messages that their films contain, it really kind of spoke to me and the kind of movies that I wanted to make. So I made the decision, a very hard decision, to quit my job in London and continue learning about how to be a better animator. And I'd known of a company online. It was an animation school. You can learn from mentors in the industry. So a lot of my mentors were actually already working in America on feature films. And so the idea is you it's an 18-month course, and you log in every day, and they give you an assignment every week, and slowly but surely you kind of get better at animation. It was a big decision to make, to quit my job, because I'd already studied animation. I already kind of felt like I knew how to animate. So to kind of go back to square one again felt like I shouldn't have to do that, but actually doing that made me realize how much I didn't know and how much I hadn't been taught, or how much I hadn't taught myself. So it was really great to go back to the beginning and just figure out the very, very basics and build upon that. So by the time I made my short film, which came in the last 6 months, I was already feeling like a lot more better prepared for the industry and how to animate feature film quality animation. Because as I said, my previous job, we had to animate very quickly. We had to animate, it would be like 6 seconds a day, maybe more seconds of animation a day, which is quite a lot. And nowadays it's maybe 4 or 5 seconds a week. So the difference there is quite a lot. You have to animate really fast and really furiously. And whereas a feature film, you get a lot longer time to polish the animation and really think about the acting choices that go into the feeling of how the character is going to be portrayed, the little details and things like that. So I went back to school. I had mentors in the industry. I learned a lot more about the process of animation, and in doing that, I made some connections. I made a short film, and I sent that film to Pixar, and they saw it and asked me if I wanted to come in for an interview. And I was actually in America at the time for my graduation, so I hopped on a plane. I was in LA at the time, and I hopped on a plane to San Francisco, Oakland, and had an interview, and they offered me a job the next day. So it worked out really well for me, better than I ever expected it to. I think the most important thing is to be observant. That to me is what I think has helped a lot. It's just like opening your eyes and looking around, and people watching. It's fun. I constantly watching a lot of movies and TV shows and things like that. But observing real life, and by observing real life, you have to have a life. So going out, doing different things, watching people, watching what they do, getting used to that kind of observational skill, and then trying to make a mental note of that. So maybe you're good at sketching, maybe you're more likely to just write it down or act it out. There's a lot of ways that people get into animation. Some people are really good at sketching and drawing. Other people, they're actors, and they like performing, maybe through performing arts or dance. Other people, just like I came into it through use of computer the way. So I had to learn how to draw, how to act. But I think I'd always grown up observing people and mimicking people, so I think that really helped me on my way. But I think the most important thing is observation. And if you can draw and keep a sketchbook, that's great. If you can do acting classes or improv, if you perform in school plays, that's always good. Well, I miss actually the rain a lot. Not that it rains too much here, but it's very dry. We've had a big drought the last few years in the Bay Area, so I miss the green fields and the rolling hills and just the trees and the leaves. And I miss it, just the view basically. There's a different scent in the air, and I think I miss just the culture of the area, the way people are. It's just very relaxed, sort of just getting on with it kind of feel. And it's different in America. I definitely, when I come back to Somerset, I'm like, this is my people. This is where I belong. So that's what I miss, and my family and friends. But that's a given, I think. When we finish a film, as a company, Pixar gets together and we have what we call a wrap party, and that involves the whole studio plus guests. We dress up all fancy in our dresses and tuxes, and we go to a venue and watch the film, the final finished film, on the big screen for the very first time. For some people, we've watched it in various stages throughout. So we've watched it in storyboard form, and then we've watched it with storyboard and a bit of animation in it, and then maybe a lot more animation, but it's not quite rendered with the nice lighting and everything. But we have our wrap party and we see it for the very first time, completely done with the sound and the sound effects and the lighting and everything. And it's really a magical kind of experience because we're all there, and a lot of us have actually worked on the film, and we're there with our friends or our family, and if it's a film that you're proud of all of those films. Obviously, it's a lot of hard work that goes into it, and it's just really rewarding to see the work that you've spent a really long time on go by. Sometimes it goes by too fast, and you're like, that wasn't much work for the amount of time I spent on it, because animation is a slow, kind of long process, and you have to be very patient to be an animator. So sometimes it goes by really fast, and you're nudging the person you came with, like, that was me, that was my bit. But it's really nice to see on this big screen and know that you know like millions of people all over the world will be watching a little piece of what you did on the screen, and hopefully enjoying what you've done, and hopefully you make them laugh. Hopefully you make them cry if that's appropriate for the moment. And yeah, it's a big achievement. And when it's a film you're really truly proud of, that's even more exciting.